Zak Bagans was once the fearless face of paranormal television. His name became synonymous with ghost hunting, his voice the soundtrack to late-night investigations, and his style the blueprint for countless imitators. With Ghost Adventures and his infamous Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, Bagans turned ghost hunting into a multi-million-dollar empire. He wasn't just chasing spirits, he became the spectacle himself, a man who brought the paranormal into pop culture. But while his on-screen persona thrived, the man behind the camera was facing struggles darker than anything captured on night vision. What unfolded over the years was not just a career in decline, but a haunting that blurred the line between his work and his reality. In the early 2000s, paranormal television was a niche genre. Shows like Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi introduced mainstream audiences to investigations, but the tone was subdued, cautious, almost scientific. Bagans stormed onto the scene in 2004 with something completely different. His independent film Ghost Adventures was raw, gritty, and unapologetically dramatic. Unlike other investigators who whispered in the dark, Zak shouted, taunted, and demanded spirits reveal themselves. His muscular build, tattooed arms, and all-black wardrobe gave him a rock star edge. Fans immediately noticed, this wasn't ghost hunting as usual, it was a confrontation, a battle between the living and the dead. When the Sci-Fi Channel aired Ghost Adventures in 2007, it exploded. Audiences were captivated by the aggressive style. Then in 2008, the Travel Channel gave the concept a full series. Almost overnight, Bagans became the face of a new wave of paranormal TV. Ghost Adventures was more than a show, it was an event. Every episode promised not just eerie encounters but dramatic confrontations with unseen forces. Scratches, growls, shadow figures, sudden illnesses, it was spectacle wrapped in mystery. Fans believed Bagans was willing to risk himself in ways no other host dared. That fearlessness made him a star. By the early 2010s, Ghost Adventures was the crown jewel of the Travel Channel. Season after season delivered ratings. Bagans published a best-selling memoir, Dark World, and expanded the brand with spin-offs like Paranormal Challenge and Aftershocks. Each project kept him in the spotlight and reinforced his dominance. Fans no longer just tuned in for ghosts, they tuned in for Zak. He became the haunted house, his personality inseparable from the identity of the show. But Bagans wanted more than just television. In 2017, he opened the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, a sprawling attraction filled with cursed artifacts and infamous relics. Inside were objects like the Dybbuk box, Jack Kevorkian's van, and the Devil's rocking chair. Each room was carefully designed to evoke dread, forcing visitors into close contact with the world's darkest memorabilia. Celebrities flocked to see it, and when Post Malone later blamed a string of bad luck on his visit, the museum's reputation soared. Bagans had transformed his fascination into a permanent legacy. On the surface, his career looked unstoppable. He co-authored Ghost Hunting for Dummies in 2019, worked with Eli Roth to produce horror content, and continued exploring music, writing, and documentaries. To fans, he wasn't just the face of paranormal TV, he was the industry itself. Yet beneath that success, cracks were beginning to show. The very qualities that made Bagans a phenomenon, his intensity, his hunger for control, and his theatrical approach, were also his undoing. Critics began questioning the authenticity of the evidence. Episodes looked increasingly repetitive, with every spirit portrayed as a demon, every encounter escalating into chaos. Skeptics accused Bagans of blurring the line between investigation and performance, prioritizing good television over genuine discovery. Former crew members whispered about reshoots and staged moments. Bagans himself was accused of overacting possessions and attacks, fueling speculation that the show had traded credibility for ratings. The deepest cuts, however, came from inside the paranormal community. In 2014, longtime co-creator Nick Groff left Ghost Adventures under mysterious circumstances. Fans immediately noticed Groff had been sidelined in recent seasons, with Bagans commanding the spotlight. Years later, Groff hinted at disagreements over creative direction, criticizing the show's obsession with demonic narratives. By 2023, the feud went public when Groff claimed he had been blacklisted from television due to behind-the-scenes politics. Other investigators joined in, accusing Bagans of using his clout to cancel rival shows and control the industry. The Haunted Museum, too, came under fire. Researchers questioned the provenance of key artifacts. The Dybbuk box, often touted as one of the most haunted objects in existence, was exposed by skeptics as a modern creation. Critics accused Bagans of presenting theatrical myths as historical fact. Even his books weren't immune. Plagiarism accusations forced him to quietly settle disputes. For someone who had built his brand on authenticity, these controversies cut deep. As professional cracks widened, Bagans also faced personal tolls. His 2018 documentary Demon House left a mark not just on his career but on his body. After investigating the supposedly cursed property in Gary, Indiana, he claimed to develop permanent double vision, a condition that required him to wear prism glasses for life. For a man whose piercing stare was part of his identity, the diagnosis was devastating. He blamed the house, saying the dark forces had followed him. Other investigations brought sudden illnesses, fainting spells, and panic attacks. Bagans described paranormal work as Russian roulette, with every case a gamble against forces that could scar him forever. Then came tragedies that struck closer to home. In 2015, recurring collaborators Mark and Debbie Constantino were found dead in a murder-suicide, after years of documented abuse. The shocking news rattled the Ghost Adventures family, leaving fans and crew shaken. Nearly a decade later, in early 2025, Bagans' closest teammate, Aaron Goodwin, endured his own horror. His wife was arrested for attempting to hire a hitman to kill him. The betrayal rocked both Aaron and the fanbase, proving that real life could be darker than anything captured on screen. Bagans' personal relationships also unraveled. His romance with Holly Madison, former Playboy model and Girls Next Door star, initially appeared strong. But behind the scenes, the relationship was plagued by on-and-off separations. By 2025, it collapsed in spectacular fashion. Madison accused him of cheating with multiple women, releasing cryptic posts and supposed receipts online. The drama dominated tabloids, transforming Bagans from stoic ghost hunter into a figure of scandal. Combined with ongoing professional controversies, the breakup reinforced his image as someone consumed by ego and betrayal. By this point, Ghost Adventures itself had changed. Longtime fans lamented that what once felt raw and groundbreaking now seemed scripted and formulaic. Every season followed the same beats. Every spirit was demonic. Every climax was predictable. Online forums buzzed with nostalgia for the early days and skepticism about Bagans' credibility. Meanwhile, up-and-coming investigators on YouTube and smaller networks positioned themselves as the anti-Zak, promising seriousness and integrity where he offered theatrics. The once unifying figure of paranormal television had become a divisive one, celebrated by diehard fans but mocked or distrusted by peers. Fame, too, had its isolating effects. Reports from former staff painted him as a controlling and demanding boss. The Haunted Museum became less a tourist attraction and more a fortress, a physical representation of his distance from others. Bagans, who once thrived on fiery interviews and public appearances, grew quieter, more guarded, his energy dulled by years of scrutiny and health issues. The man who once screamed into the dark now seemed consumed by it. By 2025, Zak Bagans remained at the top in numbers, 28 seasons of Ghost Adventures, a thriving museum, millions of fans worldwide, but the tone had shifted. His influence felt less triumphant and more tragic. To critics, his downfall was the inevitable result of ego, sensationalism, and questionable integrity. To supporters, it was the story of a man who gave everything to the paranormal, only to be scarred, betrayed, and broken by forces both human and unseen. His story is no longer just about chasing spirits. It is about the cost of staring too long into the darkness. Bagans once warned, "You can't look into the dark without it looking back at you." Today, those words feel less like a warning and more like prophecy.